Good morning, gardening friends. Today is Sunday, February 18th. Time is flying by. I wanted to start in the front porch today, but first let me take a little sip of coffee to show you this amaryllis. It'll probably be the last time I show you the amaryllis. And it's just a miracle bulb is all I can say. Look at the number of flowers on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it's got a 7th one coming up. I don't know if that one's going to bloom or not, but that's just a miracle amaryllis of so many blossoms. I don't know if it has anything to do with the fact that it was wax encased and then, taken out and given water and some fertilizer or not, but it's doing fabulously well and it will soon find its place in my yard. There's Miss Mimi. Wondering who I'm talking to. Who I'm talking to that's not petting her. Not much has changed in the front porch. My I want to call it a spathiphyllum. It's not that. I'll think of it later. Is blooming. Got the second batch of flowers on this wild amaryllis or species amaryllis. I do love the colors of those flowers. That will reside in that same pot out on my back deck after the flower dies back. Back in here, I still have my Japanese orchid. Miss Mimi is a little freaked out because the fountain is on. The fountain's not always on. She's not trusting of any new noises. Well, let's take a look outside. It's chilly out there. Tomorrow, or tonight, I should say, they're predicting a frost. Probably the last of the frosts that we'll see, but there's no telling. So I'll have to bring plants in for one more time later today. Cyclamen are still doing well. They'll do well till the heat of the, I don't want to say summer, but late spring will knock them back. Bananas might get a little nipped today, but it won't kill them. If 20-degree weather that won't kill them, I doubt if 30 degrees is going to. That's about what they're predicting it to get down to tonight. Bunch of activity on my black fig. Birds are back here. I don't know why. Someone must have gotten rid of some squirrels because I noticed the bird feeder has stayed pretty much full of bird seed. Usually the squirrels come and empty it, but the birds are still having their way with it. Oh, there's my neighbor's cat. I call him Stubby because he has no tail. Sarah, that's my neighbor Sarah, same neighbor that I got Mimi from. My camellias are all in bloom now. Everything, this is really one of the first years that all of my camellias bloomed. And it'll be more like that now because I won't be cutting them back as severely. What had happened was I was sick a few years ago. And because of that, I wasn't able to get out and garden. And so the gardens just kind of did what they wanted to do. And it took a while to rein things back in. And when you cut anything back, of course, you lose flowers. This camellia, I do love those flowers, and they are very long lasting. You can see the There are only 4 or 5 flower heads on the ground. This one is looking a little the worst for wear, but it's got a bunch of new buds coming. These two camellias look great together. Of course, Professor Sargent. And this one, God, has huge blossoms. Royal Velvet. It took me a while to think of it. I do like the anemone look of these. So pretty much all of those camellias are in bloom at the same time. Oh, and this one is blooming. This has the problem once when the buds get nipped, the flowers that come will always be a little tainted in some way. Let me try and approach. That one is actually looking pretty perfect, but you can see hopefully the sawtooth nature of the petals, which is why I like that. When they get frost nibbled, they sort of come out this like ecru color, which is still pretty from a distance. It's not till you get up close that you notice it's a problem with the flower, but not all of them get affected equally. Again, that was a no-name camellia. I used to get them at the local flea market. There was a woman that used to sell camellias there. I know some people are purists and don't like the seedling varieties, but I kind of look at them as bespoke. One of a kind. And my advice goes even for the named varieties. Don't buy anything that's not in flower. It's the best way to assure you're getting what you pay for. Or at least buy from a reputable dealer that will give you your money back if it's not the right one. We did cut back the cycads this week. That's what was missing over here. I forgot to show that one. That's why it's so open over here by my window. You can see the new sprout coming. We only cut back 4 of the cycads. Anything that still had green in it, I left. My reasoning being that the green fronds are still giving nourishment to the plant. But when they all turn brown, they're not doing it any good, so you might as well cut them off. I don't know how this is going to go by the street, but I did spend a couple of days this week trimming and edging everything around my property. And you can see the winter rye looks spectacular. I'll see if I can get a view down the street before a bunch of cars come. But you can see here the sidewalk looks fantastic. I took it upon myself to move that speed limit sign that they put up because of the quote-unquote temporary construction, which has been going on now for 2 months. Since it says 15 miles an hour, ain't nobody going 15 miles an hour up the street. So I moved it a little to the edge of my property where it's not quite as noticeable by me. Plus it makes it a lot more pleasant when you're driving. Nothing's blocking your view of oncoming cars. Oh, I've got some of my little daffodils fixing to bloom. They're just the small ones. I don't remember the names. I got them from Walmart probably about 5 to 10 years ago, as with these. And that's what the flower actually looks like. That used to be, the reason that line is down the middle of the bed is, of course, that used to be the front of the bed before I expanded it and made a potager. So at some point I will probably move those bulbs, but for now I'll leave them the way they are. Still got some hyacinths planted last year coming up. They don't bloom quite as fully as the first year. However, they do come back, which is all that one can expect of them. Here's where the amaryllis will go. This one was the one that was in bloom a month ago. And I put sticks here. You can see a stick, hopefully, right there. That's where another one will go. I learned through the years, frost knock the leaves down. This one was planted after the 20-degree weather. And so you don't really know where the bulbs are. So what I like to do in the fall, anticipating either buying 4 to 6 amaryllis bulbs, I like to put usually chopsticks or some little stick in the ground so that when all the foliage disappears, I know where to plant the bulbs. Ooh, I've got flowers on my rosemary. This rosemary has just done fabulously well. I keep cutting big branches of it off. This was kind of my plan for a little Mediterranean garden. Little did I realize how tall that rosemary got. Normally, they would only get, or at least what I've had in the past, is about 3 foot high. And this is probably 5 foot high. It really likes that spot. I did notice this week, I'm not going to cover it tonight since it's only getting down to 30, that my Australian tree fern, I looked it over, and I did notice, where did I notice it? There. I don't know if you can see that, but there is a green fiddlehead there. So it is alive. It's alive! Of course, now that leaves me with the predicament of, if it did die, that was going to be the spot for my forsythia that I've got growing in the backyard. These I planted this past fall. Those are some more of those encore azaleas. The only ones I ever get are the autumn carnation. There are plenty others, but I like the double of the autumn carnation. Ooh, my nose is getting frozen. Ooh, there's some activity on my Pieris japonica. I do see some little flower buds. Oh, Stubby wants to go. Go ahead, Stubby. His real name is Max. I'll leave the door open for him. Mimi's not outside. I see some activity here on my wandering dude, or Tradescantia. Of course, this hellebore is doing well here, and I did notice, I looked at the base of it, and it did multiply a little, so apparently it is going to live there. It's starting to hold its blossoms up high. And this one hasn't opened up yet, but now that I know where to grow hellebores, I stuck it here, and apparently it likes it because it's got flower buds. So this is my little hellebore section. Go ahead, you can go out. These are now the fuller look of the daffodils that I planted many, many years ago that kind of naturalize. I still haven't put the leaves out yet that I have collected out front in this area. They're not going anywhere, so, and hopefully I'm not either, so I will get to them this week. The main thing I was after was really cleaning up the edging this last week. I like to do it myself, even though I have a yard man come in on Thursdays. Kevin. Every now and then I like to work over the trimming and edging myself just to sort of get it perfect and then have him kind of maintain it. So probably every month or month and a half. Now don't go around my feet now. I don't like cats running around my feet. Miss Mimi knows enough, especially when I was first learning to walk after getting out of the wheelchair. She got tangled up a couple of times. Here's more. Oh, I cleaned this up, which I said I was going to. And my snowflakes are still in bloom. I always call them snowdrops, but their actual name is snowflakes. I think there might have been a few more blooms there, but they got stepped on. Oh well. That was when pollarding the crepe myrtle. You kind of forget where things are when they're just coming out of the ground. Here you can see the ferns are sending up their little fronds. That's why I wanted to go ahead and cut them back. Ooh, this is a momentous day. Stubby is letting me pet him. He's been back here all along, but has not quite trusted me until this very moment, caught on film. And of course here you can see the cycads cut back. This Pieris japonica is also starting to open up some buds. It took me a while to, I've liked Pieris japonica forever. It's a very slow growing plant. I first came in contact with one at Bellingrath Gardens in Theodore, Alabama. And in any event, fell in love with it. And I have probably tried 4 or 5 different places, and it would die out in each place, till I finally planted the one by the deck on the north side of my house, and it did well. And well, it lived. It's doing well for my Pieris japonica, and so I finally realized it needed the deep shade and the moisture. So I put this one here, and they've been there now for over 5 years. The lady palm is looking a little the worse for wear, but that's typical for the winter. These cycads I did not cut back yet. Okay, truth be told, I got up early that morning because this was big trash week and did some weed whacking. And by the time we trimmed up the cycads we got, I was just flat out too tired to go any further. So we'll get the others another day. But what I was saying is true. There is some green on them. And so that was my justification for leaving them. The gingers will probably be cut back after this next frost tomorrow. Ooh, the buds on the blueberries are starting to burst. I don't know if you can see this one. Spring is approaching, and it looks like I have a sprout on my pecan that volunteered itself. A lot of the things I have in my garden are considered weeds by many people, but a weed is just really anything growing where you don't want it to be, as this oxalis is to me. When I bought my house 31 years ago now, there was a little patch of oxalis next to the deck, way over there, and it spread throughout my entire yard. And I did a little special on oxalis last year. It just really blankets all of this. I kind of give up every now and then and just let it be a nice ground cover, except I don't want it in walking areas. But you have to be careful because it has bulbs. You can spray it, but it only seems to kill the growth that's exposed to the spray. It doesn't seem to kill the bulb. And it has little bulblets around the top if you let it get old enough, any one of which breaks away will form its own plant. Back in here, for one, another daffodil. And these are naturalizing to a point. They were single bulbs probably when I planted them about 7 years ago or so. So they are actually thickening, but not all daffs do well in a zone. Not my flower, not my flower. Zone 8B/9A. Let's take a look over here. I can get across. Forsythia is opening more flowers up. It's never going to get quite as thick as the forsythias in blossoms, at least, that I've seen pictures of. However, at this time of the year, I am thankful for all the color that I can get. And now that this is in more sun, it may actually produce more. It'll be even more sun yet when that cycad gets cut back. However, it will very quickly grow. Back in here, not much has changed. That's my little potting area. My roses are sending out new growth. I don't see any buds or signs of life yet on my plum. It's probably just a little too early. Of course, these camellias are still in bloom. That is a pretty blossom. And let's just go up on the deck. I broke down and purchased some new welcome mats, courtesy of Hobby Lobby, which, by the way, I just got them yesterday. They're 50% off. Not that this is a commercial for Hobby Lobby, but they were about the most inexpensive mats I could find because they're exposed to weather over here, so I always try to get good-looking but cheap ones. I'm going to have to protect this tonight. It's starting to grow back, my angel's trumpet. Lettuce doesn't have to be protected. It'll do quite well right in the pot that it's in. Here you can see more little grape hyacinths coming up. And these are the ones in the other pot. Of course, the big ones I just planted. The others came back on their own. My mint is coming back. And all of the roses are sending out sprouts. I do need to fertilize them. I forgot the chemical, anthocyanin or something like that, that causes them to be red. But basically the new growth is red because that's a sunscreen, nature sunscreen. It's protecting the flowers against, or the fresh new leaves against being burned by the sun. I will have to protect this plumeria today. This is the time of the year that the newly opened flowers on the witch hazels look really nice. And I cut back my cordylines. I was debating, well, what the heck. I have a hard time remembering cordyline. So my little mnemonic for cordylines is, for any of you that are past 50, sweet cordyline, bum, bum, bum. That's my bad dad joke for the day. But that's how I remember the cordyline. These cyclamen are doing really well now that they have the new basket, and I will have to bring them in tonight as well as the pitcher plant. But it's got all kinds of activity on it. Nepenthes. These pitchers are starting to send up new growth. This one I just bought last year. I see a little bit of sprouts here and there, but they may be flower stalks. It's hard to tell. But there you have it. Spring is basically coming to our garden. So I hope you all get to get out there and enjoy the sun. Hopefully it won't get too cold where you all live. And I will see you next week. Take care.